The Meditations of Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antoninus. Book 9. He who does an injury is guilty of impiety. For since the nature of the whole has formed the rational animals for one another, each for being useful to the other according to his merit, and never hurtful, he who transgresses this her will is thus guilty of impiety against the most ancient and venerable of the gods. For the nature of the whole is the nature of all things which exist, and things which exist are akin to their causes. Further, she is called truth, and is the first cause of all truths. He then who willingly lies is guilty of impiety, in as far as, by deceiving, he does an injury, and he who lies unwillingly, in as far as his voice dissents from the nature of the whole, as he is acting ungracefully, in opposing the comely order of the universe. For he fights against its nature and design, who sets himself against truth. Since nature had furnished him with means for distinguishing falsehood from truth, by neglecting which he is now unable to do it. He too, who pursues pleasure as good and shuns pain as evil, is guilty of impiety, for such a one must needs frequently blame the common nature, as making some unworthy distributions to the bad and the good, because the bad oft times enjoy pleasures, and possess the means of them, and the good often meet with pain and what causes pain. Besides, he who dreads pain must sometimes dread that which must be a part of the order and the beauty of the universe. This now is impious, and then he who pursues pleasures will not abstain from injury. That is manifestly impious. But in those things to which the common nature is indifferent, for she had not made both were she not indifferent to either, he would follow nature, ought in this too to agree with her in his sentiments, and be indifferently disposed to either. Whoever then is not indifferently disposed to pain and pleasure, life and death, glory and ignominy, all which the nature of the whole regards as indifferent, it is plain he is guilty of impiety. When I say the common nature regards them as indifferent, I mean she regards their happening or not happening as indifferent events in the grand established series, in which things exist and ensue upon others, suitably to a certain ancient purpose of that providence and design, according to which at a certain period she set about this fair structure and arrangement of the universe, after which she had conceived and fixed the plan of all that was to exist, and appointed the distinct powers which were to produce the several substances, changes, and successions. It were the more desirable lot to depart from among men unacquainted with falsehood, hypocrisy, luxury, or vanity. The next choice were to expire, when cloyed with these vices, rather than continue among them. And does not even experience yet persuade you to fly from amidst the plague? For a corruption of the intellectual part is far more a plague than any pestilential distemper and change of the surrounding fluid which we breathe. The one is only a pestilence to animals, as they are animals, but the other to men as they are men. Don't despise death, but receive it well pleased, as it is one of the things which nature wills. For such as it is to be young, to be old, to grow up, to be full grown, to breed teeth and beard and grow grey, to beget, to go with child, to be delivered, and undergo the other natural effects which the seasons of your life produce, such is it also to be dissolved. It becomes a man of wisdom neither to be inconsiderate, impetuous, or ostentatiously contemptuous about death, but await the season of it, as of one of the operations of nature, as you are now awaiting the season when the fetus shall come out of the womb of your wife. Thus await the season when your soul shall fall out of these its teguments. If you want also a popular support, here is one which goes to the heart. You will be extremely easy with regard to death, if you consider the objects you are going to leave, and the manners of that confused crowd from which you are to be disengaged, though at the same time you ought not to be offended at them, but even to have a tender care of them and bear with them mildly. Remember, however, your removal is not from among men of the same sentiments with yourself, for this alone, were it so, could pull you back, and detain you in life, were it given you to live along with men who had attained to the same maxims of life with yourself. But at present, you see how great the fatigue and toil from the jarring courses of those you are among, so that you may say, Haste, death, lest I too should forget myself. He who does wrong does a wrong to himself. He who is injurious does evil to himself by making himself evil. Men are often unjust by omissions as well as by actions. Be satisfied with your present sentiments of things, if certain, your present course of action, if social, and your present temper of mind, if well pleased with everything which comes from the universal cause. Wipe out the fancies of imagination. Stop all eager impulses to action. Extinguish keen desires and keep the governing part master of itself. Among the irrationals one animal soul is distributed. The rational again partake of one intellectual soul, just as there is one earth to all things earthy, and as all of us who are endued with sight and animated see with one light and breathe one air. All things which partake of any common quality have a strong tendency to what is of the same kind with themselves. The earthy all tend to the earth, the watery all naturally flow together, and the aerial also, so that there is need of some intercepting partitions and violence to prevent their confluence. What contains the nature of fire tends upwards, on account of the elementary fire, along with which all of our fuel is so apt to be kindled, that any matter pretty dry is easily set on fire, because there is then a less mixture of what hinders its kindling. Thus now also whatever partakes of the common intellectual nature hastens, in like manner, or rather more, to mingle with, and adhere to what is akin to it. For the more it excels other natures, the stronger is its tendency to mix with and adhere to what is akin to it. Thus, among irrational animals, we easily observe swarms and herds, nurture of their young, and as it were mutual loves, for they have animal souls, and the mutual attraction is found stronger in the more noble nature, such as was not found in plants, nor in stones or wood. And then among the rational animals begun civil societies, friendships, families and assemblies, nay, treaties and truces, even in war. Among beings again still more excellent, there subsists, though they are placed far asunder, a certain kind of union, as among the stars. Thus can that superior excellence produce a sympathy among these beings so widely distant. But observe what happens among us. For intellectual beings alone have now forgot the social concern for each other, and mutual tendency to union. Here alone the social confluence is not seen, yet are they environed and held by it, though they fly off. For nature always prevails. You will see what I say if you observe. For sooner may one find some earthy thing which joins to nothing earthy, than a man rent off and separated from all men. Man, God, and the universe all bear fruit, and each in their own seasons. Custom indeed has appropriated the expression to the vine and the like, but that is nothing. Reason has its fruit too, both social and private, and it produces just such other things as reason itself is. If you can, teach them better. If not, remember that the virtue of meekness was given you to be exercised on such occasions. Nay, the gods also exercise meekness and patience toward them, and even aid them in their pursuits of some things, as of health, wealth, and glory. So gracious are they. You may be so too. Or, say, who hinders you? Bear toil and pain, not as if wretched under it, nor as wanting to be pitied or admired, but will only one thing, always to act, or refrain, as social wisdom requires. Today I have escaped from every dangerous accident, or rather I have thrown out from me every dangerous accident, for they were not without, but within, in my own opinions. All these things are, in our experience of them, customary, in their continuance, but for a day, and in their matter sordid, all at present, such as they were in the times of those we have buried. The things themselves stand without doors, by themselves, and neither know nor declare to us anything concerning themselves. What declares then, and pronounces concerning them? The governing part. It is not in passive feeling, but in action. The good and evil of the rational animal formed for society consists, as neither does the virtue or vice of it consist in passive feeling, but in action. To the stone thrown up, it is no evil to fall down, nor good to have mounted up. Penetrate into their governing part, and you will see what kind of judges you fear, and what kind of judges too they are about themselves. All things are in a state of change, and you are yourself under continual transmutation, and in some respect corruption, and so is the whole universe. The fault of another you must leave with himself. The cessation of any action, the extinction of any keen desire, or of any opinion, is as it were a death to them. This is no evil. Turn now to your different ages, such as childhood, youth, manhood, old age, for every change of these is a death. Is there anything alarming here? Go now to your life, first as it was under your grandfather, then as it was under your mother, and then as it was under your father, and as you find there many other alterations, changes, and endings, ask yourself, was there anything in these to alarm me? Thus neither is there in the ending, ceasing, and change of your whole life. Have speedy recourse to your own governing part, and to that of the whole, and to that of this man who has offended you. To your own, that you may make it a mind disposed to justice, to that of the whole, that you may remember of what you are a part, and to that of this man, that you may know whether he has acted out of ignorance or design, and that you may at the same time consider he is your kinsman. As you are completing part of a social system, so also let every action of yours be completing part of a social life. If then any action of yours has not its tendency, either immediate or distant, to the common good as its end, this action disorders your life, and hinders it from being uniform, and it is seditious. As a man is in a commonwealth, who, by pursuing a separate interest, breaks off his own party from the general harmony and concord. Quarrels of children at their play, and poor spirits carrying dead carcasses about with them. Hence we may be the more deeply affected with the representations of the shades. Go to the quality of the active principle. Abstract it from the material and contemplate it by itself. Then determine the time, how long at furthest this thing of this particular quality can naturally subsist. You have endured innumerable sufferings, by not being satisfied with your own governing part, when it does those things which it is formed for doing. Enough, then, of this dissatisfaction. When another reproaches or hates you, or utters anything to that purpose, go to their souls, enter in there, and look what kind of men they are. You will see that you ought not to disturb yourself, in order to procure any opinion of theirs concerning you. Yet you ought to have kind dispositions towards them, for they are by nature your friends, and the gods, too, aid them every way, by dreams, by oracles, and even in these things they are most eager after. The course of things in the world is always the same, a continual rotation, up and down from age to age. Either the mind of the whole exerts itself in every particular event, and if so, except of what comes immediately from it, or has exerted itself once, and in consequence of this all things go on since in a necessary series, in which each is connected with the other, and altogether make up one regular, complete whole. Or atoms and indivisible particles are the origin of all things, and if so, even those have somehow made up one orderly system of the whole. In fine, if there is any, God, all things are right and well, or if there's only chance, at least you need not act by chance. The earth will presently cover us all, and then this earth will itself change into some other forms, and those again into others, and so on without end. Now when any one considers how swiftly those changes and transmutations roll on, like one wave upon another, he will despise everything mortal. End of the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, Book 9, Part 1.